Hi, everyone. My name is Yvette Spillman, and I'd like to welcome you to this presentation today, Achieve Freedom from Debt Fast. I hope the title was able to catch your attention and that you've got a pen and paper handy to take some great notes on this amazing information. And I made this webinar and I'm so excited to present it to you. It's for all of you out there who are making a good income, but feeling like it's a challenge to save and to get out of debt. All of you who may be sick and tired of false hope and bad advice like we see on TV or read in books. We hear things like, save more, tighten up your belt, stop eating out. Come on, who wants to reduce their quality of life? If anything, we want to improve it. And I think this presentation today will really show you how you're going to do that. And it's a real game changer. So I'm thrilled to show you an excellent, completely free system that will change your life. Again, my name is Yvette Spillman. I've been a registered investment advisor and a retirement planner for 2 decades now. And I'm also a licensed fiduciary, which means that I'm ethically responsible to do what's right for you, the client. So in working with a wonderful program like Your Family Bank, I get a lot of joy out of seeing people's lives actually change. And it's different than what I do in my mainstream retirement planning. And again, I'm just delighted to bring you this system. Today, I'm going to show you what the program can do for you. We're going to focus on what you can accomplish. How we do it and the details of the program is something we'll go over in depth in our one-on-one consultations. Of course, because there are special tweaks for each individual situation. So again, today we're going to focus on what you can accomplish. Now, I can promise you a few things. Number one, everything that I'll show you in today's program is 100% real. Number two, everything is 100% free of charge, and there's nothing to buy. Number three, the strategies that I create for you or that my team creates are also free of charge. Again, nothing to buy. And number four, implementing this get out of debt strategy really will change your life. I can promise you that. So one thing to note too, just sidebar, is that the program we're discussing today focuses on individuals and families, but we also have a program for businesses. So if you're a business owner and you need assistance or would like to get your business out of debt a lot faster, reduce interest and other things, then you're in the right place as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I hope that you're serious about accomplishing getting out of debt, because I'm very serious about helping you. So let's get started. Let me begin by asking you 2 important questions. Now, be honest with yourself in these questions. The first one, are you 100% sure that you're going to have a great retirement, or do you have some doubt? Most of us would say that we do have some doubt, wouldn't we? And number two, if I could show you how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, including your mortgage, without spending any additional money than you're already spending right now, would that be of interest? If your answer is yes, then certainly you're in the right class. So today, what I'll teach you to do is, number one, significantly reduce the interest that you're paying on loans or debts. Number two, as we mentioned, how to get out of debt in 9 years or less, again, including your mortgage. Number three, improving your cash flow. Here's a big one, decreasing taxes. Wouldn't that be nice to have little or no taxation in retirement? how to save for college and pay off student loans. And finally, how to retire with tax-free income. So if you'd like to just maybe jot down those few bullet points, these are the things that we will accomplish and show you how to do by using the Your Family Bank strategy. Again, a wonderful, wonderful program created by just a great group of people, great group of advisors out of St. Augustine, Florida, called Your Family Bank. And I'm going to present that to you today. Let's take a look. Are you alone? Let's look at the average American household. Total assets in and around the age of 65 are $2 million. Now that's the average coast to coast for middle class families that earn, they say they earn approximately $2 million of lifetime income. But notice this, only $60,000 is the average family's savings for retirement. Why? Well, we're going to look in a moment. So needless to say, being broke in retirement is not the American dream. So we just asked why. So yes, why? Why can't I save enough to get ahead? What's the secret? Let's take a look at what's really going on. The average American household, again, this is a statistic of people coast to coast. The average American household, look at this, is paying a whopping 34% of their income in interest alone. Now, this is cumulative interest, could be on your mortgage, car loans, credit cards, student loans. The average is 34%, with an even heftier tax debt of roughly 40% of the average income going out in taxation, leaving only 23% for lifestyle. Now, lifestyle doesn't mean fun and vacations. Lifestyle means the cost of daily living, buying groceries, getting to and fro from work, these kinds of things, buying a pair of shoes. And that leaves, sadly, on average, only 3% that middle Americans are able to save. So look at this, the average household debt comes to about $250,000. Perhaps you found yourself in and around this same statistic. Now you might also say, hey, my federal tax bracket is not 40%. Certainly not. However, this is cumulative taxation, tax on the gas we pay, tax that we pay on clothing, groceries, federal tax, state tax, city tax, FICA. 40% represents a cumulative tax debt. Now, how can we change that? You'll hear a lot of advisors, quote unquote, who are not really advisors, but rather television personalities, saying things like, you've got to tighten the belt, you know, cut your eating and spending habits down. You can survive on $2 tacos and beans and rice, and start saving more money. So they're focusing only on this 3% in a rather unrealistic fashion. Rather, with the Your Family Bank strategy, we want to focus on reducing interest and reducing taxation, which will free up more money to put into lifestyle and to put into savings, rather than telling you to unrealistically save by cutting back on your lifestyle. Something to think about. So let's take a look at this example here regarding interest. How badly are we actually being beaten up on a daily basis by interest? We saw the pie chart. It looked pretty bad. But let's take a look here at a live example. Now, this is a mortgage amortization calculator showing that we took out a $300,000 loan this month, and we're paying 5% interest on it. Now, given that interest rates are probably even lower than this right now, we might have gotten 4% this week or even 3.25. But in our example, it's going to be 5%. Now, notice Our monthly payment up here on the upper left corner is $1,610 a month. We've only borrowed $300,000, but what's this? Notice if we make all the payments, if we pay the mortgage for all 30 years, we've actually paid $279,767 in interest alone. That's almost 100% of what we borrowed. Now, does that interest just accumulate over time? Well, no. They front load it right out the gate. Notice here in our first month of payments, $1,250 went to interest, which represents 78% interest. We don't get down to 5% until the very last few years of the loan. So certainly this is a system that's stacked against us, not in our favor, but rather in the favor of the lender or the bank. So if we think back to our pie chart and we saw 40% in overall taxation and upwards of 30% going out to creditors, we can then see so far the creditors and the IRS make all the money, leaving us with not a whole lot. Despite the fact that you make a good income, it's hard to get ahead. But what if we could change things and have you be the winner, not the loser? What if we could have you benefit from your own money? Imagine that. Well, it's possible. And let's look here at the steps to accomplish debt freedom. Number one, we have to have facts. We have to know where the money is going. So you would fill in a fact finder that would help us to narrow down just what's going out and where. Number two, we'd want to create a plan with a qualified advisor and make needed changes. So when we come up with a strategy, sometimes that will require changing things from the way we've normally done them, maybe sometimes too changing our investment vehicles. And that leads us to number three, which is using the correct investment and savings vehicle to achieve number one, tax reduction, right? That's so important. And number two, to achieve secure growth. Growth that's actually free from quite a few different risks that we normally face, and we'll go over those. And number four, become your own bank, thus slashing interest significantly and benefiting from your own money yourself, rather than giving the money to banks and other institutions and you not benefiting from it. So what does that mean, becoming your own bank? Let's take a look. Now we know that a bank is a business. So let's go down to our bank and let's put in $10,000. Now, if we're lucky, the bank may give us 1% interest on our money. That sounds kind of high. It's probably around 0.2% that we would actually get as interest growth, perhaps in a savings, checking, or money market account. But what if we come back to the bank on another day and we want to borrow $10,000? What interest rate would they charge us? Now remember, we as a customer made a deposit and we're only getting maybe 1%. Now we come in as a customer to borrow money, and these are the potential interest rates. We pulled these from a current interest rate chart. The lowest interest rate we found was 4%. Interesting, isn't it? So how would you like it if you could turn this paradigm around and you could be like the bank, gaining these higher interest rates yourself? Something to think about. Now, the great news is that you can be like the bank. You can be your own bank. But how? Well, the first step is planning and putting together a strategy with a qualified advisor who knows how to work with your family bank system. So the first step in that planning is the spending tracker. We would supply you with this. You can download one after this workshop. And the first step is we want to, like we said before, track the money. Where is it going? Are you making extra payments anywhere, for example? How much is going out in interest? All these things we would narrow down by first writing down and filling in the fact finder. Number 2 would be plan creation, actually putting the plan together with the information we gathered from the fact finder. And one thing that's so important is that a successful plan can't be a rigid plan. We can't just assume that nothing is ever going to go wrong and every day will be perfect. We have to plan for the unexpected. And so we build that into our strategy for you. Number 1, 80% we figure, can go status quo. But then there's 20% that constitutes emergencies, emotional purchases. Ladies, have you ever gone to buy a specific item, let's say a pair of pants, and there's a sale, and it's a good one? Maybe next thing you come out with 3 pairs of pants because that was, what was on sale. And maybe you threw a pair of shoes in that was on sale too. So we were trying to maximize your dollars by buying things you didn't expect to buy because they were on sale. That's emotional buying. Perhaps, gentlemen, have you gone into a car dealership just wanting to ask some questions? Next thing you know, they've got you in the chair filling out the credit form. Again, emotional spending. So we have to factor those into a successful plan. And number 3, of course, is using the right tools, the right vehicle to get the job done. And that job, of course, being reducing expenses and making more money that you can keep in your pocket. So let's look at a living example. Now, these are real clients. This is not their real picture, but the real clients named Mark and Joyce have a family. They're middle age, actually younger than middle age, and they'd like to retire at 65. They currently have about a $7,000 income. And in retirement, they realize the kids will be grown, kids will be gone, and they can retire on a little bit less. They are estimating a need for $5,000 a month. Their children, 3 of them, are hoping to go to college, but they have no savings for that just yet. Now, their main goal, of course, is to reduce their debt, control spending a little bit better, make some college plans, and have more savings for retirement. So how can they do that? Can you relate to them? Does this look something like your picture? Well, let's take a look a little further. Now, they have done some savings for retirement. So they have an emergency fund at the bank of $6,000, and they contribute $25 a month to that, making, notice what we said earlier, 0.25% interest. And then they have a savings account for their 401k at Fidelity Investments. Perhaps this is through their jobs. And so far, they've saved $36,500, contributing $300 a month at roughly 5% gains. So what about their debt? Well, maybe we can relate to this too. Here they have a Visa card, a medical and dental expense. Perhaps one of the kids needed braces. Right? They have a credit card, a furniture card, an auto loan, and the big one, of course, the mortgage. So all in total, their average interest, given that some of these credit cards are kind of high, their average interest is 10%, and their balance of debt is $180,198. So across all of their payments, if we add them all up, they're paying $2,177 a month towards getting out of debt. Now, we mentioned their retirement plan earlier. They're putting $36,500 away. They have that currently saved, and they're adding $300 a month to their 401k. They're getting about a 5% annual interest growth. And given their income, they're in the 25% tax bracket. So if we carry them 30 years into the future when they'd like to retire at age 65, we find that they've saved $408,890. But notice, if we apply today's tax rate without even counting on the fact that taxes are going to go up, they can only utilize after tax $306,668. Not much. So overall, just to recap, their total debt, we said, was $180,198. But when we factor in interest, not even taxation, look at their real debt. It's slightly more than double what their actual debt is. And that's just, again, debt plus interest only. Pretty intimidating. So Mark and Joyce are actually going to pay $199,958 just in interest over a period of 30 years. Pretty scary, but a lot of us are in the exact same position. So by applying the Your Family Bank strategy, again, we said we were going to focus on what could be accomplished. So let's look. Mark and Joyce changed their habits and applied their Your Family Bank strategy. They were then able to reduce their time that they were paying their debts from 30 years down to 7.8 years. That is amazing. They saved $122,739 in interest. Again, this is a real couple, which freed up for them that monthly payment. After the 7.8 years, they were able to pocket $2,177 a month and pump that entire amount into their retirement program. So their savings in 30 years is now $1,004,387. That looks a lot better than $300,000, doesn't it? Pretty impressive. So let's look at that side by side. Their current plan, $306,668 of savings after tax, and they were able to get out of debt in 30 years, again, including their mortgage. But by applying the Your Family Bank strategy, notice $1,004,387 in tax-free savings. And they were out of debt in only 7.8 years as compared to 30 years using their previous strategy. Pretty impressive, wouldn't you say? So that brings us to another point. We talked about interest, and we saw that in our example. But taxes are also a weighty part of our spending. And taxes, folks, have to go up. Thanks to this recent stimulus package, we just saw the national debt go from $22 trillion to over $25 trillion. So Congress, everybody, financial planners, CPAs, Nobel Prize winners are all saying taxes absolutely have to go up to save America. So that begs the question, if taxes are going up in the future, is postponing taxation really a good idea? What do you think? I'm going to say no. So a 401k may be the wrong savings vehicle for retirement planning. Why? Well, let's ask ourselves, how much of your 401k can you keep? If we look on the left of the black line, we see here that if we have a $500,000 balance in our 401k and we're paying 22% taxation at present, this is present day, then after tax we have $390,000 that we can spend. Not great, but okay, at least we can identify what the taxes are and figure that out. But notice, if we go into the future and we have that same $500,000 401k, and then we subtract future taxation rates, which we know will be higher. Let's say the taxation rate is 40%. Notice the difference. Right then and there, we've already lost $90,000 of our spendable money. Not good. So I would argue that it's better to pay taxes today when rates are low and we know what they are, perhaps start implementing Roth conversion, rather than an unknown amount of tax that we know will be higher in the future and will cost us significantly in our retirement savings. What else is out there affecting our money for the future? Well, of course, it's risk. What kind of risk? We just mentioned tax risk, but also market risk. Market risk can be significant, as we've just seen not only in 2008, 2009, but in this COVID-19 pandemic. The market went down over 38%. Now, markets will come back up, of course, but if they go down at the time that we're trying to retire, that can be detrimental to our retirement plans. So we should look for something that helps us to eliminate tax risk, market risk, inflation risk, and especially outliving our money, which is called mortality risk. And that is the number one fear of baby boomers, is actually living longer than our money will take us, outliving our money. So can we, in this strategy that we're discussing, find a vehicle, a savings vehicle, that will allow us to avoid all of these risks? And the answer is yes. Again, we would discuss those details in our one-on-one discussion or consultation. So let's recap. Here are the plan benefits. Number one, let's pay a ton less money to creditors and to lenders. Let's earn interest on our own money and not give that interest away to the bank. Let's dramatically increase our savings. And here's my favorite. Let's get out of debt faster than we ever thought possible. Let's retire with tax-free income and not incur tax risk later on. And then, of course, let's eliminate the common risks such as outliving our money and rising taxes. So let's look back for just a moment on Mark and Joyce. We remember that they were actually $180,198 in debt. But when we added in the interest owed on that debt, their real debt was more than twice that amount at $380,157. Crazy. So their interest paid was almost $200,000 over a 30-year term. But again, just recapping, by changing over to the Your Family Bank strategy, 7.8 years to being debt-free, saving over $122,000 in interest, and freeing up that $2,100 monthly payment to now spend on their retirement and benefiting themselves. So by the time they retire, $1,004,387 in tax-free money saved. So at this point in the presentation, most people will say a few things. They'll say, yes, I want to be just like Mark and Joyce. Where do I sign up? Or, hey, this sounds great, but is it too good to be true? Would that include you? Either of those comments? I hope so. So let's prove to you that it's not too good to be true, and let's act on your decision to be like Mark and Joyce. But how? How can you get out of debt so quickly and severely cut your interest and taxation? Well, you do have to meet the criteria to become a client. We actually don't work with everyone. So there is an application process. Now, to go through the process, right after the webinar, you'll have access to the Fact Finder. Go ahead and download that, fill it in and email it back to us. When we review it, we'll get back to you within 48 hours to let you know if you're a candidate for the program or not. Usually, candidates are $10,000 in debt or greater. They usually have a mortgage. And most of all, they're serious about getting out of debt and willing to stick to the program. Now, Beyond that, if you pass the application process and we can take you on as a client, we'll schedule a virtual meeting with you to meet with you face-to-face over the computer, or if the pandemic restrictions have lifted, we'd be delighted to meet with you face-to-face in our office as well. So in bringing you this presentation, though it was brief, I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope that you feel hopeful that you can get out of debt sooner, save a ton of money, and make your retirement look oh so much brighter. Again, my name is Yvette Spillman, President and CEO of Wealth Protection Partners, and I'm delighted to bring you this information that is part of the Your Family Bank strategy. Please, at this time, go ahead and download your fact finder and get that over to us. And you can visit our website, retirementandyou.org, or call us on the phone to ask questions, schedule appointments, and again, meet with us face to face. So I really look forward to meeting you. Thank you for being on this important presentation. And until we meet in person, take care, stay well.